So I think that one of the church's problems in our cultural engagement has been that we've been seeing social and political problems and broadly been trying to address them with political means by voting the right person into office, supporting the right other political causes and so on, so that through legislation we could change the various negative trends that we see in society, instead of addressing and seeing what is the primary issue, which is what you pointed out, false worship. What are some other ways that you would point out has been some bad ways that evangelicals have been doing cultural engagement over the last couple of decades? How would you rate our cultural engagement, point out some bad ways, and say that this would be the more positive way?
Well, where should we begin?
That's a lot, I know.
Very simple problem is the Christian world doing so. And so evangelicals, what's amazing, you talked about the 60s in my visit. I didn't meet a single evangelical except for Carl Henry, the one exception, who understood what was going on. Many evangelicals were shocked, lamenting. They were out of it. And the evangelicals slept through the 60s. Why? Well, with our wonderful pietistic background, we had warm hearts, but sadly often deficient understandings in our heads and understanding the lack of culture. So evangelicals switched from an overly privatized faith to an overly politicized faith, from pietism to politicization. And that was absolutely disastrous. So you see a lot of evangelicals today. How do they engage public life? They're too politicized. Others are still retreating too pietistically. So I meet evangelicals who say, I'm not going to get involved in public life. The early church didn't. Well, that's stupid. The early church had no freedom to engage public life. They were under the Caesar's dictatorship. Whereas the American experiment is based on Exodus. And the essence of Exodus is that everyone's responsible. As the Jews put it, reciprocal responsibility of everyone for everyone. We the people, Americans say. So for Christians to opt out of engagement today is both faithless and bad citizenship. So that's one thing. But take another thing, Aaron, and you've hinted at this. Many American Christians are as secular as their next door neighbors. In other words, they're functional atheists. Because a feature of the modern world, Peter Berger put it like this: we live in a world without windows. In other words, the real world for us is what you can touch, taste, see, weigh, calculate, and so on, what you can approach through the five senses. Whereas what's in the Bible, and for most people in history, even pagans, the unseen world is not unreal. Now that means my wife and I have a term, the horror of great darkness. You can see it in America, but you can't take it on politically. You have to take it on with supernatural warfare through prayer. And the church is beginning to wake up for that. Now, go to Africa or, say, Korea, and they pray like anything. Now, the American church is beginning to rediscover prayer, but many American Christians are functional atheists. We've lost the biblical worldview.